Hello gang, good to see you again. Of course, for those of you tuning in for the first time, I am the Articulate Grunt. Welcome to my channel. Now, today we're going to get down to a second installment of my Heroes series, based upon a subscriber request, and what it is incidents from across America of people illegally using guns to defend themselves. Let's get down to it. Our first case comes to us from Oklahoma on the 1st of January, 2013. Sarah McKinley, recently widowed on Christmas Day, was home alone with her 3-month-old son when two men came banging on her front door demanding entry. She refused. One of the men continued to circle the house trying to find unlocked or open windows or doors to gain entry, while the other continued to bang on the front door. Sarah retreated to her bedroom, called 911, and was on the phone with 911 for 20 minutes without police arriving before the men finally kicked in her front door. One of the men came down her hall, came at her with a 12-inch hunting knife, at which point Sarah shot him dead with a double-barrel shotgun left to her by her deceased husband. The other man fled the scene, turned himself into police a couple hours later. Our second incident is Miss Melinda Herman. On January 7th, 2013, she works from home. Thus, she was home alone while her husband was at work with their 9-year-old twins, when a man came knocking at the front door and began trying to force the door open. Melinda retreated upstairs with the twins, locked the bedroom doors. The man broke into the house. She then retreated through their bathroom, locking the bathroom door, and retreated further into a crawl space, closing the door to the crawl space as well. The intruder used a crowbar to break through the bedroom door, break through the bathroom door, and then pry open the crawl space door, at which point Melinda hit him 5 times with a .38 special revolver. He stumbled out of the house back into his vehicle, drove about a block down the road before running into a neighbor's yard, rolling out and collapsing onto the neighbor's yard, bleeding profusely. The intruder is currently still in intensive care, unable to breathe on his own. Personally, need to go ahead and unplug that piece of trash, especially since he did 6 months last year in jail for breaking and entering and assault, and has 6 other prior convictions on his record. Now, we know the way things transpired because Melinda called her husband on her cell phone, and her husband called 911 on his desk phone. So he was on the phone with his wife and with 911 during the entire incident. Police arrived well after the incident. Melinda and the children had fled to a neighbor's house and were found there safe and sound by police when they arrived. December 11th, 2012. Chris Streff of Sumner County, Kansas, was woken twice by strange noises, the second time grabbing his .45. Going outside to find the door to the mutually attached garage, which was attached to his neighbor's house, was open. He found a man attempting to steal his neighbor's Harley. He confronted the man, told him to freeze. The man charged him, punching him solidly enough in the jaw to crack his jawbone. Mr. Streff then fired 1 shot, wounding the man in the torso. The burglar was unfortunately medevaced to the local hospital and survived. December 24th, 2012. A California resident's daughter was having a sleepover, a slumber party, when a man broke into the house early in the morning. The man confronted the individual, who turned out to be armed, and shot him dead, at which point the intruder's 2 accomplices engaged in a gunfight with the homeowner. Both accomplices were wounded, as was the homeowner. One of the 2 accomplices was arrested by police. The homeowner is going to be fine. January 15th, 2013. A homeowner in Miami-Dade, Florida, defended his home against 2 armed intruders, shooting and killing one while the second fled the scene. No names have been released as there's an ongoing investigation attempting to find and arrest the second armed home invader. January 23rd, 2013. This is one of my favorites, because tell me how else the playing field gets leveled in a situation like this. Mark Sykes, a 53-year-old disabled veteran, bound to a wheelchair, happened to be in bed when a 6-foot, 180-pound, 19-year-old home invader kicked in the front door to his house. Coming into Mike's bedroom, Mike warned him that he had a gun, showed him the .45 he had. He dropped his break-in tools and fled the residence. By evidence collected by police off the tools, they tracked down the teen and made an arrest. Now you tell me, how else a 53-year-old disabled veteran bound to a wheelchair in bed at the time of a break-in by a 6-foot, 180-pound teen home invader is going to level that playing field? How is that going to be an even match in any other situation? It's not. Well, let's move on. Now, a little bit of the case of the stupids. But, January 27th, 2013, Jacob White of Huntsville, Alabama, was meeting with a buyer for a TV he had posted on Craigslist. There's a bit of the stupid. When the buyer asked him to check the cable ports in the back to make sure it was capable of hooking up to a computer, he noticed the man's hands started to go under his jacket and that the man had a firearm. Jacob immediately fled to his vehicle, though the robber still fired on him, missing. Jacob retrieved his legally owned and carried handgun, returned fire, wounding the robber. The robber was arrested. No one but the robber was wounded. November 9th, 2012. Yes, these are all basically within the last year. Jose Cruz had met a gorgeous 19-year-old young lady. I've seen the mugshot. She even looks good in mugshots. And she took him back to her hotel for a lucky night. Upon entry, Mr. Cruz was confronted by 3 male associates of the young lady, one of them pulling and brandishing a gun, demanding his money. Mr. Cruz has a legal concealed carry permit, and instead of handing over his wallet, drew his firearm as well, opening fire on the would-be assailants, wounding 2, including the other gunman, on his withdrawal out of the room. They were arrested by police. Everyone's expected to survive. Mr. Cruz, back to the gun range. Center mass is kill shot. If you're going to get 2, at least take them out of the gene pool and away from the engagement of the rest of society. But, good job, legal job. No charges are being filed against Mr. Cruz. January 10th, 2013, a North Dallas resident shot and killed 1 of 2 intruders trying to break into a second-floor apartment. Now, police arrived, inspected the scene, and, finding that the homeowner had marijuana in his possession, arrested and took him in on drug charges. Now, I still use this because while he was stupid for having the drugs still out where police could find them, his firearm was legally owned and was legally used in defense of his home. Plus, he removed 1 more scumbag out of the gene pool. Thank you. Hope you get a nice slap on the wrist from the judge. Little balancing the scales. And for our final piece, June 29th, 2010. A 15-year-old boy was home babysitting his 12-year-old sister when 2 men broke in through a back window to the house. Young man and girl retreated to his parents' bedroom, where the young man retrieved his father's AR-15, loaded and prepped it, and when the men broke through the bedroom door, opened fire, wounding 1 of them. The 2 men fled, leaving a blood trail. Less than an hour later, 2 men checked into the local hospital, 1 of them with 3 gunshot wounds to the chest. Not sure what kind of ammo Dad was keeping on hand for that to be survived, but they survived, checked into the hospital, and were taken into custody, charged with home invasion and several other charges. Good job to the young man, who should now be 18, and good job to his dad for teaching him proper and responsible use and respect of the firearm. He used it, nobody was hurt except for the burglars. Him and his sister were safe. And I'm not even going to go through, I'm going to leave it for your mind to go through what could have happened with a pair of kids that age and a pair of burglars. Could have been nothing, could have been really bad. But we'd have never heard about that on the news either, would we? And finally, I've seen a lot of things getting posted on the internet and people quoting, misquoting and such, the Second Amendment. So, I actually keep a copy of the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. Let me read the Second Amendment in full as it was originally written. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. That's it. Have a wonderful day. Take care of yourselves. I am the Articulate Grunt. Keep your heads down until I catch you next time. Bye.